is America. I'm an optimist by nature. And like Ronald Reagan said, Reagan believed too that this country is a shining city on a hill, that we are a light for other nations. Other nations have always wanted to look to America, see what it is that we do right, and then emulate what's right about America. As Reagan said, despite our current troubles, our best days are yet to come. I have always believed that. But looking at the current state of the union, it's no wonder that folks are sometimes kind of feeling like it's a tough thing to keep that optimism and keep our spirits high. Today, 1 in 5 American men are out of work. 1 in 7 are on food stamps. 50%, more than 50% of our recent college grads are underemployed. 30% of our mortgages are underwater. Our public debt is 94% of our GNP, which means if we keep going the rate that we are going, our entire country will be underwater. These are very worrisome developments when you read those stats and you hear the data that proves that things are very, very tough economically. But something even more worrisome is the collapse in confidence of the American spirit that so many people see all around us. It's the winnowing of that deeply proud American faith that our greatest achievements are yet to be, and that there is that bright dawn just around the corner. Now, I'm not a big fan of polls. I've said before that I think polls, they're only good for strippers and cross-country skiers. And I'm one of those. I ski. I'm not a big fan of polls, but I was struck by one that I read recently. Yeah, I know, it took a while. Yeah. A poll I read recently, it said that the vast majority of Americans think that our worst days are yet to come, that tomorrow is going to be tougher than today, that our kids are going to have it tougher than we have had it. In a sense, who can blame them? Today, we hear the prophets of doom and gloom all around us telling us we got to scale back our expectations and learn to live with it, and we better just relegate ourselves to dreaming small dreams. All those things that really are the opposite of what Governor Scott believed in as he grew up and became so successful. Politicians and liberal economists are telling us that America is destined for decline and that we just have to learn to manage it properly. And we have a president suggesting that we're just another country, no more exceptional than, say, Greece. Greece, of course, the country on the verge of a bankruptcy and collapse. The leader of the free world now telling us, resorting to class warfare, trying to tell us that there is this separation of Americans, as if the bright future of success and prosperity that we teach our kids possible. We teach our kids, work hard, you're in America. Anything is possible in America, and yet we have our president who is trying to make it sound like that dream is so far beyond our reach that the only option is to fight over the shrinking spoils of a failing economy. Our own president lecturing recently that America has, quote, lost our ambition, lost our imagination, our willingness, and announcing last month right here in Florida that we've lost that competitive edge and we've gotten a little soft. Well, speak for yourself on that one, Barack Obama. Friends, not since Jimmy Carter's mantra of malaise has a U.S. president presided over a greater collapse in American confidence as Barack Obama. This is evidence of that fundamental transformation of America that Barack Obama had warned us about in the campaign. We do not need a fundamental transformation of America. We need a restoration of all that is good and free and right about America. Things may look gloomy The economy may look tough, gloomy. I have confidence, though, that our future is bright, so long as we win the current battles in our country. I say this because of my faith in the character of the American people and my personal belief that God has shed his grace on thee, America, that we are a blessed and prosperous land. And most importantly, I have faith that there are enough of us who believe that and are committed to not squandering what it is that we have been so richly blessed with. So we can be filled with hope. We can be a big believer in hope and change. Believe that our hope lies in changing the occupant of the White House. This is one of the keys. Replacing Obama, though, is only a start. It's his governing that is a symptom of the problem. He's not the root. I say he's the master, though, of division and exploitation of people's frustrations and fears, but he's not the root. See, we're fighting a bigger battle. It's a larger battle, and it's for the heart and soul of this country. It's a battle to preserve the principles of our founding so that we can restore the greatness of America. Our president's declarations notwithstanding, despite what he says, we are an exceptional nation. We're the only nation that is built on an idea, the idea of freedom. It is our shared belief in liberty, our shared belief in liberty that unites us, and it defines America. It's our unshakable faith in individualism and personal responsibility and work ethic and God-granted rights. These are the core values of the foundation that made that American experiment in self-government work. Self-government, that's government of the people, by the people, for the people. But those values are increasingly under assault. They're being challenged by those who tell us that self-government really can't work. Political forces insist that the problems that we face today are just too difficult in a complex world, and that to survive in this complex world, we must cede more and more of our liberty to a faraway, self-appointed governing elite, which in exchange promises us to take care of us. Look around. Do you see that struggle between these two visions? I see this struggle, and I recognize that one vision believes that government is about entitlement. I would like to know that my federal government understands a vision that believes in empowerment versus entitlement. And to see this struggle in action, look no further than the Occupy Wall Street movement that's going on. This Occupy Wall Street has, of course, when it first kind of got off the ground, people looked at it, I looked at it as thinking, well, these folks, you know, they feel legitimate indignation about the Wall Street bailouts, financial institutions behaving recklessly, and then we get stuck with the bill. And then 3 years later, many of us still quite ticked off about it all because we don't have assurances that those who caused the financial collapse in the first place, that they are being held accountable and that it won't happen again. But this Occupy Wall Street crowd, now it seems to have evolved a bit. Occupy Wall Street crowd has drawn now, I believe, the wrong conclusions. They say, Wall Street fat cats got a bailout, so now I want one too. And the correct answer is no one is entitled to a bailout. The American dream, our foundation, is about work ethic and empowerment, not entitlement. In fact, the nation's dividing line today is how you answer this question. Are you entitled to other people's money? The Wall Street crony capitalists, the Obama administration, the leftist politicos, big union bosses, and the occupiers, they all say yes. The rest of America says no. Some would have you believe that the Obama administration and the Occupy Wall Street crowd are the antithesis of the crony capitalists that you see on Wall Street. But really, they're on the same side of the street. They actually share the same vision. They all think that they're entitled to your productivity and your money, and they favor growing government in order to get their hands on it. Whether you call it bank bailouts or tax hikes just for some, or redistribution of wealth, it's all the same. It's your money. These days, when you feel a hand in your pocket, somebody picking at it, trying to get your wallet, reach up on that arm and find out who is that hand attached to. It could be one of the following three. If the hand belongs to a crony capitalist, he'll say, "We need your money as a bailout to stabilize the economy." If the hand's attached to a Wall Street occupier, he'll say, "We need your money to redistribute the wealth for social justice." And if the hand belongs to the Obama administration, they'll just call you a millionaire and demand that you pay more taxes. Now, many of us are rightly disgusted by the rise of the wrong kind of capitalism today, the cronyism. And heck, really, what we're talking about isn't even capitalism, because it's not based on personal risk and reward and responsibility and innovation. It is corrupt. And it's no surprise then that a grassroots movement finally took to the streets to demand reform. It's a movement against the Wall Street bailouts and against the auto bailouts and the corporate welfare and the waste and the sweetheart deals between politicians and well-connected big business lobbyists who are there in D.C. And that movement, it has a name. It's called the Tea Party. And it rose up a few years ago in direct response to government handouts for the very people who caused the economic crisis in the first place. The Tea Party has been fighting the influence peddling and the earmarks and the tax-funded golden parachutes and the waste, those things that are rife in Washington today. So my question to the Occupy Wall Street crowd is, where have you been the last 3 years? It's understandable, their anger, their frustration with where our country is today and where they see it headed. But I suggest if they want to vent and change the situation, then they vent in the right direction. They all need to hop on a bus and travel south, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, where there's plenty of space to occupy out front and protest what's going on. Barack Obama is owned by Wall Street. The fat cats, as he calls them, they're his friends. They're his pals. That's where he gets his campaign donations. And he's very generous about giving these cats their catnip via returns on their investments and bailouts. Now, here's the glaring difference between the occupiers and Tea Party patriots. The leftist elites and many in the media, and forgive that redundancy, but and groups like Acorn, some of these socialists, the American Communist Party, they favor the occupiers and they oppose the Tea Party, because independent Tea Party Americans want to keep government out of our lives, while the occupiers welcome a growing nanny state. That's the difference. The Tea Party wants to decentralize federal power and give it back to we the people. Ultimately, and quite clearly, you find the opposite on the other side. Why should we trust the elite with more responsibility? I know that we are told that they're the smartest boys in the room and they are pedigreed with the most expensive educations. Makes me wonder though, if these guys are so doggone smart, why are we so doggone broke? Specifically, too, those in charge of budgeting our federal tax dollars and expenditures. You know, we're going on 1,000 days now with no federal budget, which blatantly violates law. They got us into this mess, but they refuse to listen to the sound solutions to get us out of the mess. And ever notice how they're the ones who get to decide which problems are going to be fixed and which just cannot be fixed? Like they say we can't secure our own U.S. border, that building a fence is too ambitious, it's too difficult and too costly, it simply won't work. Oh, but change the world's climate? Oh yeah, they can do that. Yeah. Heal the planet from Washington? Stop the rise of the oceans? Check. Yeah. I guess, and Pam Bondi will appreciate this, if you subscribe to a political philosophy which holds that politicians in D.C. can control sea levels, then running the nation's entire healthcare system from D.C. is a piece of cake. Or take energy policy, another area where the permanent political class has just simply ignored the wishes and the common sense of the American people. We have the prospect of becoming energy independent thanks to new finds like the shale oil and gas and the old. You know, Anwar is still sitting up there, and it was more than 50 years ago that the Navy set aside NPR in Alaska, the petroleum reserve that was going to feed our military with the fuel it needed. And Point Thompson, other huge finds. This is just in one state. That's just in Alaska. These are still sitting there untapped. But rather than adopt an aggressive policy that can create more than 1 million new high-paying jobs and generate billions in government revenue and create enormous prosperity here instead of outsourcing to foreign countries, instead we subsidize foreign countries' energy projects, and we spend billions on pipe dreams of uneconomic green jobs. Our message for President Obama needs to be that Solyndra is not the change we've been waiting for. Friends, the reason that we are not on the path to energy security is not because we cannot do it. It's because the governing elite does not want us to do it. In Alaska, we can create 250,000 high-paying jobs and generate enormous prosperity with one simple action, and that's opening Anwar. It's 2,000 acres, this footprint, 2,000 acres, which is about the size of a municipal airports, out of the 20 million acres that are set aside up on the coastal plain. It's desolate, frozen tundra. But East Coast elites who say no, people who live more than 4,000 miles from Alaska and will never see a caribou in their lives, much less enjoy one in a pot of stew on my kitchen. They say they want to protect Anwar's nature and protect the caribou from me in Bristol. You know, when you consider, though, in light of the wars for oil in this tumultuous world, in the words of Ann Coulter, Mr. Caribou may have to take one for the team. Nope. The obstructionists, though, they say it's better to take your hard-earned money and send it overseas and put it in the pockets of governments that don't like us and can use energy as a weapon against us. These countries that we rely on, they have minimal environmental and worker safety standards, if there's any compliance at all. But the obstructionists think that this strategy works, that it creates jobs. It creates jobs, but they're in the Middle East. It's time that we reject the advice of the elites and we start creating jobs right here in America. What is wrong with American-made energy? Are they waiting for the entire Middle East to erupt in flames before they start thinking about what it is that we need to do to start tapping some of our conventional sources? The Obama administration is against conventional responsible energy development, but they're all for this unproven, uneconomic green job agenda. Look no further And who's leading the charge here? Look no further than our Vice President to see the dazed and confused and dangerous vision that guides our so-called energy policy. Back when I was about in third grade, energy crisis was hitting the U.S. Remember this? About in '73, our nation's leaders were asked to approve the private sector building a pipeline to transport billions of barrels of Alaskan crude into our domestic market in the Trans-Alaska Oil Pipeline, or TAPS. Joe Biden was one of only 5 U.S. senators to actually vote against the pipe. He, though, today, he's the cheerleader for, this big support of recent energy projects like Solyndra. 2 years ago, he insisted the green solar company would be the answer. Solyndra would, quote, serve as the foundation for a stronger American economy. Our president, too, echoed those words. Let's see, no on the pipeline, but yes on Solyndra. Here's the difference. Our pipeline has transported 16 billion barrels of U.S. crude into these domestic markets. That's about 14% of the U.S. supply. It's created hundreds of thousands of jobs affected by this line. Our pipeline has helped to secure the union with oil. The stuff that we actually use to move our trucks and our cars and to heat up our economy. Our pipeline has helped secure the union. What did Solyndra provide? Besides another example of Obama's crony capitalism on steroids. Well, more than $500 million in losses, shuttered windows, and, once again, we're stuck with the bill. And for the 1,100 people who used to work there, no job. Come 2013, I think our vice president shall be looking for a job, and I'm not sure what he'll do. I doubt that he'll have much of a future in investment banking. But when you consider the very, very strange goings-on Wall Street today,